Happy full moon in Scorpio family. Happy May and a welcome home back to yourself. I want to say this is a very interesting full moon and culmination point that we have found ourselves on, not just within our own subjective journey, but also collective shifts that are happening. I'm sure we're seeing a lot of great transformation that's occurring during this time, including within your own psyche. That's what Scorpio is. It's the interface of where spirit meets matter, the soul meets the material realm, and this is about creation in the material realm. That is what the Scorpio full moon is diverting our attention towards. What version of self have we been essentially driving a lot of momentum towards, and where is that going to be redirected during this time? It reminds me of quantum physics, which suggests that everything exists in quantum superposition, which means that it doesn't exist until we observe it into form. And what if we have been observing the version of self that has been experiencing profound suffering, has felt limited in their ability to create in this system? Because we are here to co-create with the material plane. I'm hearing Gaia actually invites us to deeply experience the totality of what space-time has in store for us, and how can we trust our ability as soul navigating the physical realm and being able to see that through to completion, even if it appears like it's not something that has materialized just yet. So that's the message that was coming through. It's about allowing more life force to move through you so that you can allow essentially space-time to not just experience but also express itself through you, and not allowing your fears to paralyze you or your doubts, because fear is a very low vibration, and that low vibration is seated within us. We then begin to host that octave of consciousness. And if we do not observe that octave of consciousness, it holds power over us until we realize and recognize that that octave within us, that's often reinforced generationally, is asking to be held. It's asking to be acknowledged by you in order for you to bring safety to it in a way that it didn't realize it needed until you looked at it. And that was you looking in the mirror. Okay, it was eternity staring back at itself and one expression of itself. So yeah, this will allow you to, let me just turn on the aircon a little bit. It's very hot in Mexico, I must say. Okay, so yeah, these will be things that highlight your ability to move into higher levels of creation, essentially. So we're going to be touching on that today. It's about being able to alchemize these lower frequencies and going through this transmutation process. You're a transduction machine, essentially. So you can transform a lower energy state into a higher energy state through your observation alone. And that's going to help you create more of a harmonious container for the soul to actually experience itself and express itself through. And that's going to come through not just the organism, but also the body and the mind. So yes, I just want to check in with how you're all doing today. Hi guys, didn't realize we had a live one today. I didn't either. I didn't know that we were going to go live, but that's actually a huge message that I have today. It's being able to embrace the unknown. It's being able to embrace, someone said the translation isn't working. There should be a translation on the playback, okay? Even if you can't understand what I'm saying right now, I'm not sure what language you speak, but yeah, that was a huge message. It's about embodying a parallel version of self. What would be the highest possible expanded version of self that you can now begin to observe into form? Because that will be the one that collapses and materializes into part of your reality until it becomes your new normal, until you naturally end up evolving into that version of self. And a huge theme when we talk about Scorpio, right? Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. It's also ruled by Mars. So it's like this pressure cooker of transformation that you're seated in right now. You're in the seat of transformation in your life. And that means that an old version of you has to die, especially when it comes to what has been driving you. the huge message as well that was coming through is not being afraid of, the saying, you don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to get started to become great at something. That's like ego sublimation, right? It's like ego dying in many ways so that the soul can lead the flesh instead of the flesh and survival programming leading the soul in this experience. Otherwise, the timelines that become available to you end up being extremely limited when it comes to the infinite range or plethora of experiences that are essentially waiting for you to tune into them. Okay, so later on, we're probably going to call up a few people here. I do think I've posted a link in the live chat. But yeah, I just wanted to check how you guys are doing in the chat itself. If anyone has any questions in the chat, we'll also touch on that. This is going to be a co-creation. I don't have any fixed energy today in regards to how this unfolds. And talking about the fixed energy, that's very much scorpionic as well. It's about where we have sacral chakra being fixated when it comes to investing our life force, and really if there's been thoughts that have been conducive to our journey, or are those thoughts something that has been depleting us, because it is like a haunted kind of house energy as we dive deep into our own subconscious layers of what have we not yet addressed and what has still been holding power over us, right? And how can we change our relationship with power? So yeah, you are essentially becoming an example. This is what, especially if you have been called in through resonance to this nucleus of a family, this is about you mirroring a different example to those around you. You're a force field of information within your body, and your body is bioelectrical. So what kind of thoughts or vibrations are you charging into that system? And I'm seeing it as compatibility, spirit showing it to me. You know, when you get like a cheap charger and it has like a certain watt to it, right? Like a certain voltage, and then it's incompatible with the product that you're trying to charge. I see that as like the human vessel right now, where there's certain thoughts that are going to be conducive for you bioelectrically, and then there's just some that are going to be incompatible. And it's through you being able to observe, where did that thought actually come from? Because matter of the fact, I'm hearing it didn't ever originate from you. So get curious in regards to what that is. Yeah, become an example of how you can hold space for yourself during this time, emotionally and physically. And that's going to generate a giant force field around you, right? Because we're tuning back into the heart space, and your environment will respond and adjust to that. That actually ends up becoming inevitable. So the best way to affect change when it comes to the people around us during this time is to literally become the energetic example of it. It's something that many of us are being called back to, all right? This isn't anything new that I'm telling you. It's just about embodied practices. This isn't about compartmentalizing meditation, but allowing that level of lucidity to be an ongoing state of awareness as you move through your day, right? How lucid are you? How conscious are you? Because we often do fall into hypnosis in this system. That's just how this construct is designed. But yeah, can you exist in a state of harmony and peace? And if you feel dis-ease within the mind and body, how can you restore that harmony within yourself? Understand what it is that you need and be conscious in regards to how to navigate your own internal world, because it is this dance of, transformation and change. And another message that I heard the other day was, if you have not yet in 2026 seen a significant change in your life, my question to you would be, where are you still resisting when it comes to the universe intervening? Because you should definitely be seeing some kind of change in your life, and where has it been, an illusion of it serving you, right? What have you been getting out of it? And when I say that, have you been receiving, the privilege of not experiencing discomfort? And that comes at the cost, right? Or in exchange for actual growth, right? Because there must be change in order for there to be growth, in order to support your evolutionary journey. So is there an illusion of, okay, I feel peace because I am resisting some kind of change, and that means I can stay in a familiar way of being, I can stay in a familiar environment. Yeah, you're not going to really see much change when it comes to this. So again, you're being called to surrender into those ways of being. And the earth has different ways of teaching us humans this kind of lessen, you know, and we can experience that through twisted and inverted ways of viewing reality. And some of us hold levels of wisdom and have unlocked these levels of wisdom and really remembrance when it comes to how we can apply and emerge these truths. And they always arrive when we're ready for them, right? Sometimes we do resist something when it comes to change until the discomfort surpasses the comfort that we once had. So for many of us, it's been, has it really hurt enough in order to initiate a change, right? Where are we initiating these changes? With Mars currently in Aries, which is the planetary ruler, co-ruled with Scorpio of this full moon, it's bringing about, I'm hearing, abrupt endings for there to be a new beginning. So yeah, it's not for you to judge in regards to the law of free will of, you know, other quantum beings, and if they choose to apply that, it's kind of just respecting that. But yeah, can you redirect your life force inwards and redirect it towards what is going to support your evolutionary journey, what's going to support your transformation, not just for yourself, but also your lineage? And are there any ways of being or ways that you have been navigating that are not going to be sufficient moving forward? Let's say that, right? And be aware when we fall into these subtle cycles of, okay, maybe that thought is not super conducive. Well, let's observe that thought. And the moment that you do that, you create the gap between you and the thought itself, and you can see it clearly, okay? So let's take a look at what you guys are saying in the chat. It's been a while. I don't remember the last time you went live. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Hello. Hi, Lady Gaia. Hi, Akashic Divination. Hello, Ben, Roddy, Carla. Hey everybody, nice to see you. Bioelectrical disparages, yeah, although it's smoother now. Yeah, I feel like it's also about learning to become a smoother conduit, as you say that, right? How can we allow source to express itself through us freely? And we must remember Scorpio is also a feminine archetype, right? So it's a lot more about surrender. It's a lot more about, okay, what we have been resisting grows, what we accept neutralizes, and what we surrender to becomes the reason for our transformation. So I almost want to say, what are you having to surrender to right now? And I feel as if for a lot of us, I've been picking up on this in the collective, just reviewing some comments, that a lot of what we're having to surrender to is actually our relationship, not just with fear, but fear of the unknown. And can we get comfortable and make friends with the unknown, realizing that our full potential actually lies on the other side of what we've allowed ourselves to experience in this reality. And many of us are actually receiving a lot of messages through, you know, synchronicities, deja vu, gut feelings, desires that we have. And that is actually a memory. It's a message from an alternate version of self or our future self trying to get our attention. That is the subtle disruptions when it comes to the psyche, things that are emerging that have been previously suppressed, that the full moon is bringing to the surface, right? When we speak about full moons, well, back in the day, you know, many moons ago, the full moon, even now, like if you're in the jungle and you're there in a full moon and it's pitch black, when we see that reflection of the sun, which is the, you know, conscious speaking to the unconscious when it comes to the moon, our subconscious is actually reflecting to us what the soul, right, the sun, is desiring to experience, and it's illuminating things that we wouldn't usually notice otherwise. And that is the beauty of the depth in the energy that we have today and the energy that is unfolding and initiating. So yeah, the question really becomes, what would be the highest expression of you? Because we speak about the higher self as if it's something that we romanticize or something that we aspire to be. But the moment that we kind of put it on a pedestal, we create this separation and we actually end up creating a frequency gap, because reality responds to who we are, not what we want, right? It doesn't respond to our intention. It responds to what we remember ourselves being. So I almost want to say with that, how can you anchor your highest expression into the now? What would your highest expanded version of self, right? The one that is confident, the one that knows themselves to be limitless, the one that remembers themselves to be abundant. You have always been highly abundant. All that's happened is that we have adopted certain belief systems that have distorted or disrupted the way that we see ourselves. So it's about returning back to our fluidity, our ability to, not just be multidimensional, which means that you exist in multiple dimensions, multiple states simultaneously, meaning that fear and excitement can coexist within you, and that's the paradox. But also interdimensional, right? How can we navigate these internal dimensions within ourselves with a level of mastery? And that requires a, certain level of awareness that we're cultivating. It requires for us to develop this deeper relationship with ourselves. What does the version of you that is so connected with themselves and trust themselves actually look like? And how can you begin to embody that kind of relationship with yourself? What are the things that they do, and how can you implement that into your practice? Because then again, you're slowly collapsing that version of self into form. What if that's the version of self that we begin to start observing? So yeah, if you can embody that now, not later, not when you feel like it's ready or going to be convenient, but literally right now, then you'll recognize where you've been giving your power away to your fears. You'll see where you have kind of benefited from not feeling uncomfortable, right? It's like, it's not a good feeling to the ego, but that's something that the soul desires to experience. And you don't get the comfort of being able to stay where you are if you want to experience something that you have yet to, right? It's like, in order to experience things that you haven't experienced before, you have to be willing to do things that you haven't done before. And that's just naturally part of the process. So can you trust yourself to actually experience that change? And that brings us on to like your relationship with fear, right? So if we look at this honestly, a huge message that came up in my meditation today was, what relationship do you have to fear? Is it a friend? And if you think about a friend, this would be someone that you confine in. It would be something that feels familiar or maybe even safe, right? Or is it a companion? Is fear something that is walking beside you and influencing your decisions without you even noticing? That's something that the full moon in Scorpio is going to unveil to us. Is it like a neighbor that you're just passing by at times, but you don't fully engage with, right? Maybe it's just like background noise in a coffee shop at this point. It's like, yeah, the fear's there, but I'm not waiting for the absence of it to act. I'm acting even in the presence of it, right? So can you create that level of not disconnection, but actual acknowledgement? When you integrate the aspect of self and you no longer reject that it's there, you're very aware of it, and you actually extend compassion to that version of self, right? Is it a stranger? Is it something that we try to avoid or suppress or pretend isn't there, and then it suddenly appears? Or we see the effect of the internal unconscious cause within our own internal system and how that's reflected in our inability to actually take action in the physical realm. Is it a sibling, something that you grew up alongside and has subtly shaped your environment or created some kind of conditioning for you? Or maybe even a parent, right? Like a voice that guides you and perhaps even limits you or feels like it restricts you in some way. Or does it kind of support your expression and expansion? Is it an ally? That's one thing that I came to the final conclusion of, right? Can fear actually become an informer? Can it become something that shows you exactly where your work is in this lifetime? Can it also unveil what it is that your ancestors feared that is revealing itself to you? And can it highlight where your next level actually exists on the other side of that illusionary barrier? Because I'll tell you one thing, upon death, when the human condition lifts and we see life through the lens of the soul, and we recognize and remember that fear was just an illusion, and there were so many other abundant timelines available for us to experience. I think this is like a soul review moment. It's, where were you holding yourself back? There was only one consciousness ever experiencing itself through infinite expressions. And when you remember that it was all you, can you anchor that awareness and knowing into the system, inside the mind of source? That's not just dreaming you into being, but you're living inside of source's mind. You're living inside of the dream. When we see, and I'm seeing the third eye inside of the heart space, then we see the universe as one single being. You is everything, and everything is you. If we recognize that you're not just localized to the body, but you are the very field that your body and vessel moves through, then we recognize that you are the device that you're remote viewing this on right now. You're not separate from what you're standing or seated on. You are the opportunity, you are the experience and the experiencer. So can you observe that co-creation taking place? That creates a level of fluidity. That creates a level of, oh, yeah, lucidity is an ongoing state of awareness. It's not something that I just tune into sometimes, but I can catch myself when I've gone into hypnosis and have forgotten that fact. So most of us actually remain in our lives. And so I congratulate each and every single one of you for actually remembering in this lifetime and returning to this remembering. I say the real awakening is to remember, which isn't to change who you are, but it's just to discard all the things within the system that you've adopted that you're not. So we subliminally become influenced by our environment and these things that surround us at all times. And if we can learn to silence that voice within us that tries to be overly analytical or judgmental, which the South Node in Virgo, right, since we've had since January 11, 2025, has been teaching us to do. The North Node in Pisces is teaching us to surrender, it's teaching us to trust. It's the universe, which is us, the same one verse in you, the one you in the verse. Like you're speaking to yourself through everything around you, including this, like wake up inside the dream. We have to keep waking ourselves up inside the dream again and again. When we connect to the body, we connect to the mind, we reconnect with the observer state. And that's where that introspection restores harmonic order within our vessel. Because we remember, oh, yeah, we are safe, we are secure, we are stable. We have always been. We had never left. Yes, we had forgotten it, but we reconnect with it. So gently bring yourself back again and again so that you can gently guide your life towards your chosen destination and doing it lucidly. This is a multi-dimensional plane. We can experience it as a nightmare or heaven on earth, right? Heaven and hell are not locations, but states of awareness that we move through as multi-dimensional beings. Can we hold space for the paradox? That's what the third dimension offers us, that no other dimension has the privilege of us being able to experience. We get to forget ourselves because we come in with, it's like Mark Twain, he said, well, the most important day is not just the one that you're seated onto this planet, right? That's the first one. The second one is when you remember your why, and you get the privilege of being able to remember that. Where we have attached to being a victim or the circumstances, did it really matter? If we zoom out enough, that storm becomes a speck and we're like, okay, well, actually, it was all in divine alignment to bring me back to this point of remembrance. Then we extend actually gratitude to all the versions of ourselves that had played a part in our story, that had shaped us, just so that we can unravel ourselves once again. That was the greatest illusion of all. It's that we were ever separate from anything outside of ourselves. And that's the beauty of the experience, to experience and live the illusion that you were separate from your higher self. Your higher self is simply the highest version of self that you can anchor into the system. What would be the highest response? And how can that bleed into health and wealth, vitality, family, relationships, career, purpose, into everything that you're doing on earth? That's really what we're returning back to. So yeah, we can reprogram ourselves from these external distractions that we can even become addicted to biochemically within the body. But if we're in a constant state of fear or our emotional states that are up and down, then we're going to be unconsciously replaying this, right? So can we review at the end of our day where these patterns are and recognize that we are now building data in regards to what belief systems we've had, right? What limiting systems we've had that have governed your internal universe, and how fluidly it can move as one with this construct instead of resisting what it is that you've always been, which is a creator at heart, right? So practicing things like Vipassana are going to be important, right? This is like ancient mindfulness practices and techniques. That's going to require you observing your own thoughts, your own emotions, as they are without trying to judge them, applying meaning to them, or dwelling on them, just allowing them to flow through you, through like the weather. You know, I do this a lot, and I was doing it the other day where I was just sunbathing and I was feeling all these like different thoughts that were coming through my field, and I was able to see them through the biological layers, right? Like the plasma membrane, it's like our auric field. And as they came in, I'm like, that's an interesting thought. Send it on its way. And it's through that observation that we are able to remain fluid, and we are not anchoring in anything at any point in time, right? It's like we are able to cut these cords when it comes to essentially these neural pathways where we have been reinforcing fears, and it fires these electrons between each other, and that creates like this biological charge. A belief system is simply a thought that you keep thinking over and over again with a highly charged emotion, and that creates a synapse that you can think about as a projection in this holographic system, since we live in a holographic construct, that then creates certain timelines of experience, because reality only reinforces what our subconscious core belief systems are. So when you repeat a belief system over and over again, it only strengthens these connections. And in this level of awareness, right, meditation and ongoing state of awareness, you're learning how to create these new connections. You're literally disrupting that thought. So if it's a thought that keeps recycling in your field, then when it loses its power the moment you observe it and you recognize it as not yours, right? You recognize yourself as not that belief system, not that thought. And those extend new pathways of experience, right? Because you then slowly create new inroads, okay, internally. So you will always come into resonance with what your subconscious core belief systems are that will connect you with the people that you're connecting with in your external reality, that match that subconscious emotion, essentially, that you're storing within the body. And how we transition that is being able to look at that core insight when it comes to judgment versus discernment. Judgment is trying to separate yourself between the thing, and it's a survival response, right? Whereas discernment, in its highest truth, is an energetic barrier that helps you understand the octave of that thought, right? So it's your ability to hold space for that thought and see it from a neutral level of awareness. So let's go ahead and tune in with you guys in the chat. Is there any questions anyone has? If you have any questions, because let me see. Please put them in capital letters. And also, I think I put a link if anyone wants to join, or anyone has any specific topic that you want to bring up today in regards to what fear you've been observing. And if you want to work with that, I'm sure you're going to be drawn in through resonance if we do end up bringing anyone on. Let me know if you guys have that link. It should be at the top if someone can repost it. Let me see if I repost it, if I've got that real quick. But let me know in the chat, guys, if is there any fears specifically that you've been seeing surface or recognizing within yourself. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about judgment and discernment then, because this came up in my meditation today. And discernment is essentially being able to see, how should I word it? Every octave of consciousness, right? And when we speak about octaves, just to break them down, reality is essentially undifferentiated bandwidths of frequency light, right? So you have high vibrational emotions and thoughts, okay? Each thought is linked to an emotion. Each emotion is linked to a thought, usually. That is the moon, even in like the tarot and in astrology. The moon is the mind and the emotional state. And that is things like unconditional love, it is compassion, it's excitement, right? You got these different levels of spectrums until you hit like unity consciousness, right? So that is unconditional love in its highest octave. It's the ability to accept everything else that comes below that. So then you have low and slow oscillations, right? Which are slow, very dense and static bandwidths. So these are thoughts of like anger, resentment, jealousy, shame, insecurity, these other emotions that we can feel. And it's not that one is right and one is wrong, okay? Instead, it's being able to witness this exist within us and when these emotions emerge, but then also recognize and discern when they exist within another fractal of awareness that may not even be conscious of everything that's happening within their own unconscious mechanics, okay? As spirit is navigating matter, these are the mechanics of spirit navigating matter. So often there can be this internal turmoil or conflict that the human can be experiencing when they don't understand these thoughts and these emotional states because they have misidentified themselves with it. What is an emotion? It's energy in motion. And the moment that we hold on to that energy in motion and we forget that we're a transduction system, right? We're a transmutation powerhouse. We have the ability to take that emotion and actually change, or even the belief system that we have, right? So maybe the belief system is a level of unworthiness, or okay, let's say unworthiness. We can observe that belief system. We can actually change the way that we're thinking about that belief system. So the first thing would be, is this true? Am I really unworthy? And what was the point of origin for me to adopt this belief system as my own? Did this actually start with me? Is this something ancestral? Because when we weave this down through societal conditioning and the conditioning that we've taken on through the world and, you know, collective constructs and the roles of duality that we're experiencing in this system, it didn't really begin with us. So the moment that we see that we're connected to a much larger system, then we recognize, okay, we are actually not alone in this. And then we begin to hold space for it. So do you see how we're slowly shifting our relationship to that emotional state, to that belief system? And then that gap is choice. That's where we bridge the gap between the trauma and the true self, which is the soul, right? It's the higher self. It's the one who's been untouched by time, unaffected by the things that have happened along our space-time travels for us to adopt this belief system of unworthiness as our own. So that gap is now choice, where we can choose, is this something that I still wish to carry? That is where so many of us are seated right now. How has this theme of unworthiness governed even unconsciously the way that we've moved through the system? Maybe we have been afraid to be vulnerable, whether that be putting ourselves out there or something in which we create out there, because of what this system is that's happening inside of us. Whoa, how do I take this out off? Does anyone, can you guys see that on the screen as well? There's a link to join the StreamYard, but that's great, but like how do I take that off? Hold on. Okay, I think I got it off. So yeah, it's a very interesting aspect. So judgment is the inability to hold that truth as our own. Discernment is different, right? Because discernment doesn't reject it. It doesn't collapse into a reaction from it. Instead, it just observes all octaves, light and shadow, without attaching or distorting. Instead, it just chooses that neutral level of awareness. And it decides, you know, is this something that is true for me now? Now that I remember myself, I'm the one that is hosting that level of unworthiness. I'm observing that level of unworthiness. However, I see that frequency, yet I act accordingly. I hold space for that frequency. And the thing is about discernment, and we'll do like a whole teaching on this, on why like lower dimensional beings can't see higher dimensional beings, but higher dimensional beings can see lower dimensional beings. It's literally because you've been able to integrate that shadow aspect of yourself. You've worked through those themes of unworthiness. So when you see another individual experiencing those themes, you are actually able to hold space for them. And that's what becoming a healer is. It's first being able to hold space for these octaves of consciousness that you're hosting within you, so that you can then hold space for another individual. So yeah, that's a whole nother topic, but that is what true healing is, right? To heal is to integrate the wound as part of yourself, not to reject it. Or some of us fear, actually, I've seen some of us have feared that existing within us because we feel it's not palatable, or that's not what spirituality is, because it's all light and love. The true spiritual path is the ability to integrate the shadow self. That's really what it is. The shadow work is the light work. Like the moment that we see that, the moment that we see ourselves clearly, right? So sometimes it can look like love at a distance, right? It can be unconditional love. Doesn't mean that everyone has access to you without boundaries, right? It's not giving somebody kind of excuses of what it is that they're going through. Sometimes it just looks like that self-love would be you acting accordingly and understanding somebody in a way that they have not yet understood themselves or remembered themselves to be. So that can be turning inwards. And that's what that whole Scorpio full moon theme is all about as well, right? When it comes to your emotional depth. Not everything that arises is supposed to be judged, right? It's supposed to be just seen equally and neutrally. So what have you been judging within yourself or even those around you? And where are you ready to see clearly once again would be my question. So we have some people backstage as well. Is there any other questions that anyone has? Let me know. Yeah. Reclaiming your power. The moment that you see this within yourself, that's the moment that you see all of yourself and you see yourself clearly for the totality of this experience, right? And then you can choose, because that choice is what begins to shift your entire reality. So good to see you all. We have a few new faces backstage as well. So we'll bring some people up here. Today, again, I didn't know we were going to go live, but I was being guided to go live. So I trust that who we call in through resonance, there'll be a topic of discussion that you guys are working through on your subjective journey. And that's going to translate into the collective experience as well. Lady Gaia said, my ex described it as all emotions can be thoughts of bottles on a drink shelf. We are a bar that holds them all, but the cocktail that we are includes only the ingredients we choose. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Like, pick the concoction, right? That is going to be conducive for you. And the beautiful thing is we get to experiment with what that actually looks like now. We get to experiment and integrate as, you know, malleable beings. Sometimes we forget how malleable the system is. We are living in the illusion of physicality, right? Two goldfish in a bowl talking. There must be God, because who changes the water? There must be God, because who changes the water? Who put the water in the first place there? Who created the water? My question would be how we first initially put water, right, as an extension of God in the fish tank with the goldfish. But then we put algae and we put those, you know, the little snails and these little, we create this ecosystem inside of that box, inside of that container, so that it can have this regenerative system. And that is part of life and death and these cyclical cycles in which we move through as beings immersed within the ecosystem. All right, let's go ahead and bring up our first person. Let's see. Hi, Jaso. Am I pronouncing your name okay?
Yeah, I dropped the in so I could save everybody a little bit of time.
What are you up to there? You're painting?
Yeah. I'm working with a buddy of mine. We're painting some cabinets.
Yeah. How is your full moon going?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, every day just keeps getting more amazing and more amazing. It's just I can't explain it.
I love it.
I'm not one bad thing to say about it.
Does it feel like a culmination point that you've reached essentially?
Yeah. I mean, I've been through one tower moment after the other, you know, like the rest of us. the
Yeah.
past year or 2 or 3, and it just makes you stronger and makes you love more. The path of least resistance. Flow with thou or flow without. Flow with thou or flow with doubt.
Yeah, that's beautiful that you said flow with doubt, even, because sometimes that does feel like the currents of the North Node in Pisces that we've had since 2025, where it's like sometimes we don't know exactly where the current's taking us, but that's quite literally the point. And there's another thing that you said about the tower, where it's like, and I've been saying this a lot recently, where the tower had to come crumbling down for the star card to be revealed, but the star card was always there. It was just that the tower was kind of blocking the view of us being able to observe the star. And the star is like the wish fulfillment and that future vision. And I see the tower is almost like the fears that we've held within the ego, essentially, and that kind of crumbling down for us to be reborn.
Amen.
Is there anything that you want to share? Or
I don't know. I don't know about the rest of you, but I mean, the more grounded I get and the more whole I become, the more chaos just gravitates towards me. I mean, these people are just hostile and out of control. It's almost demonic, but all you can do is just make a space for them, you know what I'm saying? And it just makes you love more, I guess. Just, it's a shame to see so many people in that condition, but I don't know if it's just being peaceful and calm and cool and collected that makes these people just go crazy around me. Not on me, nor necessarily, but on everybody around me. There's always this. I don't know how to explain it. I wouldn't even want to explain it, really. But
that's a paradox, and I say this quite a lot, where the paradox is the more that we're able to sustain the 0 point and harmonic order within ourselves, we actually begin to observe more contrast around us. So it's from that neutral point that we can see like almost the laws of duality playing out, not just around us, but within each individual. And it's because we have learned to hold space and almost have this level of mastery in being able to hold that internal higher perspective. So we have the ability of being able to see things without distortion that's happening within others. And that's, you can almost like see the internal distortion. It's, how would I kind of explain it? It's almost like, how the high priestess, she would have a certain test, let's say, or a certain experience, life experience that would be suited to her ability to remain anchored and grounded in who she is. So that would kind of exercise, it would be that level of resistance of how well can you sustain the 0 point amongst the chaos? How well can you see the cosmos within the storm? Can you still place yourself in the eye of the storm? And I feel like that's like what the Tower card is. That's what the Tower energy is, because it is the storm that comes and it breaks everything down. Can we see the cosmos behind it?
Yeah, we actually saw a UAP. Some friends of mine were having a really hardcore argument, and I stepped outside to get away from some toxic energy, and right when I stepped outside, I just saw this giant egg come flying over the tree, like this glowing white egg floating on a mist. And I said to it, I said, "Do you love Jesus?" And this thing shot out this burst of energy out like in front of itself that kind of, and then it just, I called my friends out, they both saw it, and then it just went behind the tree and disappeared. But it was pretty trippy. It definitely came to tell me that I was, in the right state of mind. in the midst of all of that, you know, because it just got so hectic, and then that's what it built up to, and that thing just showed up. It was beautiful.
That's beautiful. And we're going to see a lot more of that. I feel like since Neptune has entered into Aries, that is, so it's like the veil is thinning as collectively we're like ascending into a high octave. We're now perceiving, it's not that UAPs and all these things were never there. It's just that we've now entered into a wavelength where they're in resonance. So that's beautiful to hear, because you're literally essentially operating within a dimensional frequency that is attracting those timelines of experience. So I would see it as like confirmation on your own path. And then also your ability to remain neutral, even in observing that within your own experience, is just like, I would say it's huge internal confirmation for those like contact experiences that you have. You never know, it could even be like, you know, your future self, or an alternate version of you, right?
Because I do have a giant fiberglass egg that we climb into and play our guitars in and shit. The acoustics are just amazing. I'll have to show it to you guys sometime.
Yeah, definitely. That would be awesome. Well,
yeah, God gave it to me on my birthday in 2006. And I've had it buried in the garden at my mom and dad's house in the garden. And people would watch us climb down into the ground all hours of the night with our guitars and shit. And the city even tried to get me to take it out. And I was like, on what grounds? And then the head guy came down there and he's like, what's all this about? You know, all this buzz in the community. And he saw the egg and he's like, oh, that's badass.
That's so interesting. When it comes to the architecture and it's essentially, and I've actually seen very similar structures walking around Mexico, specifically in Tulum. They have these new buildings that they're creating, and they almost have like that egg-shaped dome where it's very futuristic and it has its own biofield. And any kind of container, because everything that's unnatural actually has like a rectangular or square kind of shape, like a box, and it creates unsymmetrical geometry, right? It creates a lot of distortion. But when we tune into
it cancels out. Even a sphere does, but the egg creates a spiral, and it doesn't. Yes. It doesn't cancel out. It just keeps on living. It's so resonant. You can feel the sound on your body when you're singing in there.
Yes. That's exactly it. And that's why we actually have, like, in mystery schools and ancient wisdom, even churches, you know how they have the dome structure? It's the architecture. That's why we still feel that power and that presence when we walk into these sites. And they knew that. And you knew that. So
yeah, it's amazing. I last summer I was a couple summers back, I was filling it with water, and I had these vibrating speakers, and I would listen to frequencies in there, like floating on a frisbee over my chest, you know, and floating in the water inside the egg. And it would just, oh man, I can't explain how amazing it is.
I see that it's not your first time doing something like that. It feels like something you come back to in this lifetime, but it bleeds in from other parallels where you're creating, you're playing with frequency in that space and sound.
I had some bees in there that were like my friends, and they loved certain frequencies. I'd play like this ones that sounded kind of like a bee. They'd come dance right in front of my face and stuff, and a bunch of mud daubers. It was cool.
That's awesome.
They had little nests inside the egg with me, and they didn't bother me. They just loved me.
You're in harmony with nature when that happens. Like when people are afraid when you go in the jungle, you go in these different places, that things are going to happen, especially if you come from the city. But when you know how to create your own torus field and your bioelectrical field, you harmonize with nature itself. So it's a co-creation that begins to happen in that space. Like that bee was just vibing out. So you were one experiencing yourself through subjective lenses. But
that's great. The birds love it too. We had a what kind of bird was that, John? A mockingbird that would sit over the egg and just sing like crazy, like you never heard a mockingbird sing before. I listened to itself resonate in the egg, and we had it buried in the garden. And then I swear that thing followed me from one city to the next when I moved. And I think it even followed me back when I moved back. And
Yeah.
he just sit on top of the pole and just jump up and down, singing his ass off like he never seen before.
That's so sweet. Love to hear
Quite
that.
talented, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Is there any other message that you want to share, or anything that you want to share before?
I would say love like it's your only superpower, man. You know, go within, yeah, and then just flow with thou or flow without. Yeah.
Thank you
Earth
so
is
much.
crammed with heaven, and every bush afire with God, and only he sees who takes off his shoes.
Thank you.
I love you guys, man. Thanks for having me on.
We love you too. Thank you so much for coming on.
I really enjoyed it.
Bye. Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have just a shorter session today, but is there any questions that you guys have on the live chat? Let me know. Thank you so much, Sean, for your super chat. May the energy that you send out return to you tenfold, collapsing into reality through all forms of abundance. Thank you so much, Kid Cogniti 7774. Thank you so much for your super chats. May the energy that you send out return to you tenfold. With honor, 𝓲𝓻𝓪𝓷𝓬, the matrix has been rewrite. Yeah, how are we rewriting our internal matrix, and how is that translating into our external experiences? We're probably going to close out with a message from the Gateway of the Light activation deck. So I got some things to do today. This was just a... Hi, Lee. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Please email me, by the way, if you got that update. I'd love... I'll be waiting for you to come back in the field. Hi, Han. It's Pinky. Thank you so much, Pinky, for your super chat. May the energy that you send out ripple through the cosmos and come back to you tenfold, collapsing in a powerful wave, collapsing into your reality through opportunities and synchronicities and meetings and encounters and epiphanies. Okay. Oh, we have the central sun. So the central sun is abundance downloads, regeneration, and success. It's all about solar plexus themes, so it's, you know, self-trust. And the central sun is actually a dome or portal into alternate realities, and I'm seeing alternate expressions of yourself. And we have some messages coming out. The first one is tomorrow, when it comes to the parallel self that you're being called to streamline. And this is just about, you know, breaking routine or shaking up the algorithm within your life in any small way. I want you guys to put in the comment section what you're going to do to anchor and signal to the universe today, no matter how small, because don't underestimate how every tiny decision you make creates a branching universe, to signal to the universe that you are open to this change, you are signaling this change, you are embodying this change. Let me know. Thank you, Lee. I'm going to be stationed here for a while until I hit the next country, but I'm open and settled, so I'm ready whenever you are. 𝓪𝓬𝓪𝓷𝓬. 𝓪𝓬𝓪𝓷𝓬 is a Pleiadian star system, actually. It's a fixed star in the Taurus constellation. Let's get one more. Oh, let's get one of these, actually. I want to get... We'll get a Cosmos Oracle message, but I also want to get one of my oracles that I got in Mexico here. Let's take a look at, Spectrum. Very fitting for the Scorpio full moon. Spectrum is literally feeling the full spectrum or range of human emotion, but being able to center yourself back into the 0 point, which is to become the observer of them all. Retrograde could be you kind of, it's the illusion of going backwards, but really you're going deeper inwards. And this is the paradox. It's that in order to experience higher dimensional realities, right, higher timelines of experience, people, circumstances, epiphanies, downloads that we see translate into the physical realm, we must first go deeper. I'm hearing to recover repressed aspects of ourselves. I'm hearing to bring them up to you. It almost feels like you're elevating all of you, right? And you can really only elevate. These pieces end up becoming something that ends up fueling you. It allows you to recollect fractals of yourself that have been suspended in timelines to show up for them in ways that you were never able to, okay, previously. Right, we have how do I react when the rhythm of life changes? I love this, right? So what is your response to change? What do you feel happen within your body when change approaches you, right? Again, if you have not experienced major shifts in your life so far in 2026, there is a part of you that's been resisting to the universe intervening in a certain area of your life. And I keep hearing Uranus, and hearing disruptive changes. Uranus is signaling that to you, okay? This isn't just this year. This is what's going to carry into the next 7 or 8 years of your life. And that is a destructive force. And it usually comes from an outside influence where there could be certain energies with the tower, right, that are going to be breaking down. But, before everything falls into place, it first has to fall apart, right? It has to fall apart for it to fall into place. I'm seeing that as you, and I'm seeing stellar explosion, like an internal stellar explosion that's going to be transforming the way that you not only see yourself, okay, and I'm seeing somebody kind of being forced to create a new point of reference for themselves. So I'm hearing, where am I at now that this has ended, or this can no longer be? Who am I becoming? And what version of reality is in resonance with the version of self I'm evolving into? And what does that journey look like? There's a journey of being able to experience yourself, move through many parallels, and I'm seeing like a 4th dimensional being casting a 3rd dimensional shadow. And when we speak about that, the 4th dimensional being, and when we see a 4th dimensional being, this is the full totality of journey through space-time. So it's the experience of, for example, someone leaving a job, okay, or getting fired, or they're in a position where something that previously gave them a sense of security has now crumbled, right? This is a tower moment in some aspect of our life. A disruptive change has happened, an abrupt ending. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a relationship to someone or a place or a thing or within yourself that's been disrupted. Well, that is allowing a new change to ripple and unfold before you. However, the 4th dimensional being already sees that after that disruptive ending, there is a journey that unfolds that leads to the anchoring of some type of new dream that now has space to unfold and take place because this cleared the way. Again, the tower, see, the tower was here, right? But it had to come crumbling down to reveal what was always behind it, which was the star card. You couldn't see this properly, whether that be, and it feels like this is where you're being reconnected to, right? They're here. So very, very interesting. Thank you so much, StarMaze11, for your generosity. May the energy that you send back ripple through the cosmos and return to you tenfold, collapsing on a luminescent wave of abundance. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to read some of your comments and we'll just chill back. The feeling that comes from everything falling apart is strangely addicting. Yes, it can be something. The thing is, we can experience fear, okay, and excitement as actually physiologically the same, okay? Like the body, again, cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined future that we're rehearsing for or an event from the past that we're re-experiencing through the mind. It no longer exists, but yet we relive in those echoes, and that is something that we carry, and that's when our mind becomes a haunted house, right? And that's part of disembodied souls, by the way. It's like the inability, or ghosts, it's the inability to actually release the cords that we create to experiences or people in this realm. And the moment that we begin to accept it for what it is, it neutralizes the cord, and we have the ability to return to the light, right? We have the ability to, a plasma being, Thoth says in the Emerald Tablets, to return from the form into the light, to become you're formed and returning to being a formless being before returning back to the light. And that's what this is. Can you remember yourself and move detached and fluid through the system? Because it's in needing nothing that the paradox is that you end up attracting everything. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, should we get any other closing out message with spectrum? Let me read if there's anything in the spectrum card. From spark to source. The ability to see and perceive the full range of energy. A group of photons divided by diffraction into several bands of color when passed through an optic prism. So this is about light, right? And life force flowing through you. And depending on how many blocks, right, which are just belief systems that we hold within ourselves, that disrupts the way that life force flows through us, and it actually scatters our creative power. The thing is, if we're rehearsing an event that hasn't even happened, and it's low vibrational, like you're fearing the worst outcome instead of preparing for the best. And the whole point of not holding any kind of expectation and having the law of detachment when it comes to this, which is knowing that it will turn out the way you hoped, but may not go the way you plan, because the universe has your best interest in mind when it comes to it unfolding the highest possible way, which often means that you take the path of the unknown. You don't know how that's going to unfold, and that's quite literally the point. The whole meaning of life is being able to experience that journey and not knowing exactly what the journey has in store for us, but remembering that these are timelines encoded into our experience already. So if we move through life with that level of certainty and that level of reassurance, or reminding ourselves of that, then it will be a lot more enjoyable, right? You know, when they say it's not just the destination, it's the journey, you can drag your feet on the journey and say, it hasn't happened yet, or or you can say, I'm curious to see how it's going to happen, and I may not know that fully right now, but I know that it's being revealed to me, and I know everything at the time that I need to know it. So by diffraction, we mean the characteristic phenomenon of light waves, and it basically talks about the optic prism, right, which is lower emotions, and that distorts the way that we're seeing what's actually unfolding in our life. So the portal is to investigate. It talks about the 7 hidden virtues, the 7 colors of the rainbow, the 7 musical notes, the 7 days of the week, the 7 archangels, 7 chakras in the body, and even the moon changes phases every 7 days. It shows us much more than we can see with the naked eye. So spectrum is actually being able to see life through the lens of the soul, okay, to the realm of vibration, because that's what the true nature of this construct is. It's the realm of vibration. And the lens of the soul, or the third eye, is your multi-sensory perception system. It allows you to tune into what's happening in dimensions beyond what it is that this carbon-based life form, this alpha, this third-dimensional vessel or avatar that you've incarnated into, can see, right? It's trusting in the things that you can foresee with your mind, and allow your body to get acquainted with certain realities before your arrival in the physical. That's what I'm seeing or being prepared for now. Can you just dream and imagine how good it can get? And then when you imagine, you realize that there is more to imagine. That's you remote viewing those experiences that already exist simultaneously. You're witnessing the unfoldment of. And allow the journey of that to unfold before you, quite literally like a memory. because you are that future self that's walked itself back through time to experience the linear unfoldment of what has already come to be. So if we remember that we're witnessing the becoming of what has already come to be, then the journey becomes a lot more anchored. You're a lot more anchored throughout your entire organism and present with every step that you take. You get the privilege of being able to experience that journey unfolding. And then when we speak about the chakra systems, is that balanced or imbalanced, right? Is there an obstruction in your solar plexus, for example, with the dome card, the central sun card that came out, which is linked to solar plexus themes of feeling disempowered in your own story? Is this where you feel like a story and there's a disconnection to your own divinity, or a disconnection that you have to the divine, and you don't trust yourself in being able to navigate this change, or this season in your life, or this next theme that's occurring that you're not yet familiar with? What does that look like? And what does it look like to feel like someone else is narrating your story versus taking control of the narrative and changing the way that you're seeing it and feeling like the main character? That's what the solar plexus energy is about. We did a whole reading on this when I was in Egypt. It's in my Transcendent playlist, energy of your life as a movie and you're the main character. And we literally spoke about the quantum cinema and seeing life through the different chakra spheres and what that looks like, and being able to create from the crown in the end, which is recognizing, oh, it was all you all along, right? So yeah, healing, self-empowerment, very much so. Okay, guys, well, is there anything else? We're probably going to hop off soon because I don't want this one to be too long. Just came on to say hi to you guys and check in on how everyone's doing. But yeah, leaping, not knowing, the net will appear, but with practice and experience, knowing it will. Show me how good it can get. Precisely. Being shown how good it can get. And it reminds me of the 𝓚𝓫s as well, with what you just said. Like, we didn't ever call gods in ancient Egypt. They were literally called the 𝓚𝓫s, which is understanding that you're part of this invisible blueprint or matrix, that everything connects to everything else. And that translates to the ones who, those of nature, or like the natural forces of nature, right? It's the natural ones. And this is about you being a natural force of nature. You are an expression of nature itself. And when you step into that remembrance, you remember that you're not separate, right? You are connected to a larger system. And it's not that you ever have to become something else, right? You become more in order to become more of what you already are. And that is the natural intelligence that's walking the system, that remembers that this system was designed for you to win. Yeah, understanding that, remembering that. Okay, anything else? Let's get a shaman stream oracle message. Running around the power of community. This came up, I'm not going to repeat myself, guys. This came up the other day, right? This came up yesterday, I believe, the mycelium network. This talks about helpers in the subtle realms. Okay, I see this as bioplasma beings that are engaging with you in your third dimensional experience. You're a bioplasma being. I'm a bioplasma being that's incarnated into physical form. We live in a plasma universe, so there are also plasma beings that exist as 𝓚𝓫s, okay, in this invisible blueprint. They're assisting you, celestial light helpers that are, you know, you're summoning to assist you in this next transformational luck and right timing that came up at the base, like a preparation that meets timing. That's what creates good luck. Anything else? Any other questions? And then we'll close out. G said, name is funny. How important do you think physical fitness is with spirituality? Okay. It's interesting because I was having this topic of discussion with myself the other day when I was walking, and I was in like a walking meditation, and what came through was having some type of practice that allows you, I don't care what it is, whether it's going for a walk, whether it is stretching, whether it may be yoga, it could be lifting weights, it may be some kind of form of meditation, and getting back into your body is more important now than ever. That is mind, body, soul connection, right? It's being able to come back to yourself. We all need some kind of anchor that is your anchor. That is going to be something that allows you to come back into coherence, right? It's not just having compartmentalized practices, but something that allows you to be present with yourself each and every day. Even if that's you, okay, like in the shower, like moments where you can be fully present. Like if you are here, allow all of yourself to be here. If you're doing something, allow all of you to be present while you're doing it. Call back all of your awareness that has been suspended in timelines, that all conversations that you've been replaying in your mind that translates into the etheric realms. Something that allows you to anchor all of you back in. And like physical outlets in fitness is definitely very, very important, because we have fascia in the body, which is essentially bioelectrical memory. It actually allows us to work through any kind of blockages. Anything that is physical ailments never started as physical ailments. They start from emotional blockages and thoughts, right? That then create these nodal points within the body, almost like stagnant debris within the body, where through physical movement and when we move our body, we can actually fit into where that is. And we can, how would I say it? It's almost like fascia is something where when it's not plump and it's not hydrated, it becomes very constricted and rigid, almost like would I compare? It's like having a necklace that's tangled, right? Or having some kind of jewelry that's tangled. And the more that we kind of get back into our body and come into that flow state, it becomes conducive again. It's able to stretch out, it's able to expand. And within each one of these like vortices or connecting points, there are points of memory, there are like insights that are awaiting integration. It's so much that is tangled that is then able to expand again. So something that allows you to get back into your body, and we'll like dive deep into that, but that's just like a really fundamental kind of like tip of the iceberg with it. But yeah, we're all plasma beings, and being able to have some kind of routine or something that allows us to come back to ourselves is very, very important. It mentally more than ever, okay? Especially with Aries is in, Mars is in Aries, but then also Neptune is in Aries and Saturn is in Aries as well. Being able to have some kind of structure or discipline in lucidity checks, in I am spirit navigating the physical form. I'm connecting with my physical body. This is a temple, right? We all hear that, you know, our body is a temple. It's a vehicle, it's a vessel that enriches the soul's experience. So how kind and compassionate are we to our physical vessel? You know, love is also a verb, it's not just a noun. So it requires follow through and action. What is the action that we take on a however consistent basis to reconnect with ourselves? That's already what it comes down to. Like the other day I wrote a poem, and I was just out and I was laying in the sun and I was allowing my hands to just collect the solar codes, right? And I remember just even feeling a plant, and my eyes were closed, right? And the plant like tapped my shoulder, and I was like, that's so beautiful. At first I woke up and I thought, oh, there's someone like that was tapping me on the shoulder. I realized it was just a plant. And I was like, isn't that beautiful how the plant taps your shoulder to get your attention? And then the wind moves around you to remember that your breath is one, and it reminds you to just inhale and exhale and remember that you are interconnected to all things. And how the birds are chirping and singing and speaking to the plants and singing to the rhythm and the current of the wind. It's like it's all interconnected, and you have the beauty as the observer inside of the experience to witness the interconnected system, the beautiful orchestra that is life experience, and to come back into harmonic order with the symphonies that are playing on all around us, and we can only really truly treasure it when we are present, you know? Like, if you're here, I wrote this poem as well, and I was like, well, you know, if you're watching this, then enjoy the visuals. If you're hearing this voice, then listen deeply to all that's happening around you. If you're seated or standing, then feel the rhythm of the earth move beneath your feet. Feel Gaia's pulse moving throughout you as an extension of her until your hearts beat as one. If the wind is moving around you, then inhale and exhale until your breath becomes one. If the sun hugs your back, then lean into his warming embrace. If the moonlight touches your skin, then feel the plasma being rising and glowing from within. But whatever you're doing, allow all of you to be here. Recognizing and remembering that time gets to experience and express itself through you. That's all it's been, that's all it ever will be. And that's all it was. And so it is. So coming back to ourselves and reminding ourselves this, I cannot stress enough how important lucidity checks are as we move through our day. Like, just do something. If you like, I would recommend maybe putting an alarm on your phone, or hell, putting down the phone. Like, really just doing something that allows you to come back and be present with yourself. And it's so funny because we think that we need an experience or a retreat or something outside of ourselves for that to happen, or a moment to happen before we can feel peace, when really we can anchor peace and presence and awareness and lucidity into the present moment. And that's the paradox. Peace can be found within the present moment, no matter what it is. We can always see the secret order to what appears to be disorderly in one-way spectrum. See life through the lens of the soul. And come back to that. Our perception shifts, but we can bring it back. That's the fluidity and the exercise of true spiritual stamina that we cultivate, that we strengthen. Every time it feels like we disconnect, we have the potential of being able to reconnect with ourselves again. See, just because a cell loses connection, electrical communication with its source, and falls into decoherence, everything that falls into decoherence can come back into coherence again. So give yourself grace. When we fall asleep and we go unconscious and we go into hypnosis and we forget that we're in a dream as we move through this construct, we have actually data now that shows us, when we do wake up again, what we chose, what was driving those choices, so we can take it as an experiment and then gently reassess what it is that you're doing moving forward. It's not that there is ever anything wrong. Again, there is no right or wrong in the experience. You're experiencing the full totality of shadow and light in this system, but call your awareness back and allow all of you to be here, not within those experiences. There's no need to feel self-judgment or shame or insecurity about the choices that were made or how they were made, but focus on what you want to do from this moment moving forward. The desire is to remember yourself, and you get to do that again and again and again and again. And each time you do, you come back stronger. The wave goes out, hits a boundary, and it comes back amplified each and every time. Each and every time. So yeah, that's my message. Resting in awareness of your breath transforms. That was beautiful. Hold up. I don't know if I can get that message back. Here we go. Resting in awareness transforms your life in a living meditation. Exactly. This is the whole thing. Like with Neptune and Aries, this is about our life becoming a living, walking meditation. You becoming that embodiment of what it looks like to move through the system. So connected to yourself so deeply connected to yourself. In those moments that we naturally want to disconnect, or those moments that we want to dissociate from an experience that we don't want to be in, or a circumstance that's happening that we're allowing to overpower us. No. Anchor into your body. Allow the higher self to anchor throughout the entire organism and be present with yourself in that experience. See it clearly, and you'll change your relationship to it. Peace doesn't emerge after something happens or when it doesn't happen any longer. Peace emerges the moment that you decide it does. And that's through soul awareness. Often it is just waking up and remembering, okay, this is an illusion, and I branch far beyond the system. Anchor into the experience even more. Be more connected with yourself and see what your body needs. Whether that's understanding that you think that you need from someone else, whether that's compassion, whether that's safety, security, anchor that into yourself, because when you do that, you anchor it into the entire bloodline. I lived in the present. Yeah, coming back to yourself again and again. Yeah, those fingers. My fingers, I speak on my hands a lot. I'm a Leo Mercury, so, well, Mercury is in Leo, so I'm very theatrical. But yeah, I hope that gave you all the clarification that was needed during this time. And really, we're not saying anything new. We're just coming back to ourselves. So it's always a pleasure to deeply connect with each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for everyone that was here, that co-created in this space, and for those who also watched back, observed, and held space for as well. You're always deeply felt. And yeah, let me know in the playback, what did this full moon bring up for you? We're still in early days. But yeah, it's a beautiful space that we've created here together. It's a beautiful ecosystem of experiences. Enjoy your end of this week and your entry into the month of May. It's a 5 months, so it's all about change. It's all about getting outside of your comfort zone, embracing those shifts, and seeing what that looks like. So yes. Okay. Until next time, I'm gonna love and leave you guys right there. I'm gonna kick anyone from the studio that's here with love. And see you soon. Nice to see you, Steve. Hopefully we'll hop on live a bit more often now that we've integrated and settled. But yeah, have a beautiful full moon. You've got this. Come back to yourself. It's easier than we try to make it. So when we stop resisting ourselves, you're a divine, magical, luminous, limitless, expansive, and infinite being. That's what it is.